Solomon's Temple. Dear friends, as we said, in today's story we will look at the temple of God which David had desired but Solomon had built. Seeing that he lived in a palace of cedar while the ark of God was in a tent, David wanted to make a temple for God. But God did not let David do that. Rather, God appointed David's son Solomon for it. Though he was not allowed to build the temple, David had made a lot of preparation for it in his lifetime. Thus, David provided for the temple 100,000 talents of gold, 1,000,000 talents of silver, bronze and iron too great to be weighed. Then, after the death of David, Solomon decided to build the temple. For that, Solomon sent messengers and informed his desire to his father's friend and the king of Tyre, Hiram. About 35 years ago, when David became king over all Israel, Hiram had built a palace of cedar for David. The king of Tyre, who heard Solomon's desire, agreed to help him in building the temple. Thus, in the 480th year after the Israelites had come out of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign, in the 2nd month, he began to build the temple of the Lord. As he had promised, the Lord granted Solomon wisdom to build the temple. The place Solomon chose for building the temple was the field of Ornan the Jebusite. This was the place where David saw the angel of God, and built an altar and sacrificed burnt offerings and peace offerings to escape from God's wrath. David had bought that field for 50 shekels of silver. It was also on this mountain that Abraham went to sacrifice his son Isaac. The work of the temple progressed fast. The 153,600 people of the other nations whom the Israelites did not destroy after they possessed Canaan were appointed by Solomon as carriers, stone cutters, and some of them as overseers. The temple Solomon was building and Moses' tabernacle both had 3 major divisions: the outer court, the holy place, and the most holy place. In front of the temple he made 2 pillars, one to the south called Yakin, and one to the north called Boaz. In building the temple, only blocks dressed at the quarry were used, and no hammers, chisels, or any other iron tool was heard at the temple site while it was being built. Solomon completed the temple in 7 years. He lined its interior from floor to ceiling with cedar and pine. He also overlaid the whole house with gold. Along with the temple, Solomon also made vessels for it. For that, King Hiram sent Huram-Abi to Solomon. He was trained to work in gold and silver, bronze and iron, stone and wood, and purple and blue and crimson yarn, and fine linen. His mother was an Israelite and his father was from Tyre. He made the vessels in the temple, from pots and sprinkling bowls to the altar and the sea of cast metal for Solomon. All the articles were made of bronze, gold, and pure gold. Nothing was made of silver, because silver was considered of little value in Solomon's days. This temple had rooms and treasuries. When all the work Solomon had done for the temple was finished, he brought in the things his father David had dedicated, the silver and gold and all the furnishings, and he placed them in the treasuries of God's temple. Then Solomon summoned to Jerusalem the elders of Israel, all the heads of the tribes, and all the chiefs of the Israelite families, to bring up the ark of the Lord's covenant from Zion, the city of David. When all the elders of Israel had arrived, the Levites took up the ark, and they brought up the ark and the tent of meeting and all the sacred furnishings in it. The priests, who were Levites, carried them up. They then brought the ark of God to its place in the most holy place, and put it beneath the wings of the cherubim. There was nothing in the ark except for 2 tablets that Moses had placed in it at Horeb. When the priests withdrew from the holy place, The trumpeters and singers joined in unison, accompanied by cymbals and other instruments, and they raised their voices in praise to the Lord and sang. Then the temple of the Lord was covered with a cloud, and the priests could not perform their service because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord filled the temple. Even though the ark of God, which was captured during the time of Eli, had returned to Israel, only now was it kept in its proper place. And with that the priesthood also was restored. Then King Solomon blessed the whole assembly of Israel, and he prayed to the Lord. When he finished praying, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offerings and the sacrifices, and the glory of the Lord filled the temple. When all the Israelites saw the fire coming down and the glory of the Lord above the temple, they knelt on the pavement with their faces to the ground, and they worshipped and gave thanks to the Lord. Then the Lord appeared to Solomon in the night, and as per his prayer, God said that his eyes will be open and ears will be attentive to the prayers offered in this place. Thus, for the nation of Israel, this temple, like Moses' commandments, became something they could not separate from themselves. By this time, Solomon's fame had spread far. Hearing his fame, one person came to Jerusalem to test him. We will see more about who that was in the next story. God bless you.